I was late with this episode this week. Sorry, everybody. Let's talk about bad psychics, quote unquote bad psychics, and psychics who are talented, but maybe make some mistakes or go about it the wrong way and make us feel like they're either faking it or they're not genuine. I don't know about you, but I've had my fair share of coming across psychics on social media who seem to give off that vibe. So let's dig into this a little bit on Third Eyesight. My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. So I wanted to talk about this theme today, and I've been wanting to talk about it for a while now. I'm actually going to read a DM that I received from Andre. I think if I'm pronouncing their name correctly. On Instagram, they wrote me, "Hey, I struggle to believe in psychic mediums because of the obvious fakers of ability, and it makes me wonder whether the quote, not fake, close quote, the not fake ones, are better at faking if you know what I mean. I'm a hopeful skeptic because I desperately want to believe that we can connect to loved ones, but I struggle. Any tips or suggestions that may help my skepticism?" And I thought it was a really interesting question to ask. And here's what I wrote back to them, and I'm going to elaborate on it on this podcast. I said, "Hi, Andre. I have a moment to answer your question. I wanted to respond to it when I was in the best headspace. There are so many fakers out there, and there are just as many real mediums out there as well. Your question about legitimate mediums being good at faking it is a really great point. I do believe this is possible. This is the most important thing I want to tell you, and I say this to you, those of you listening to this podcast as well. You don't have to believe in any of this. As a medium myself, I want to encourage you to connect with your loved ones. If that means not believing in mediums, that's totally fine. I personally am not in the business of converting people to believe or to bring them to the light, quote unquote. My personal opinion is a good and honest medium wants to empower you to connect with your loved ones, not to rely on their mediumship to connect with loved ones. And a good and honest medium will bring forward symbols, memories, or characteristics of yours or of your loved ones to confirm for you that they are in fact around you. Sometimes a good medium will make a mistake. No medium is perfect. I say that all the time. Even Teresa Caputo, a medium whom I consider quote unquote perfect, and I love her, sometimes gets things slightly wrong in her live shows. I've seen her live in person maybe 5 times. For me, it doesn't make her less good of a medium. It reminds me that we are humans channeling something not human. So there's some effort that goes with that, and not all effort is met with perfect results. I empower you to trust yourself, and please know that you should never feel pressured to believe in mediums or in anything at all for that matter. This is your journey, and if that includes talking with a medium, I recommend you go into a reading with an open mind, knowing that a human like yourself is trying to connect with spirit, and that even a medium who isn't perfect for the whole reading can bring someone or something forward that can help guide you in your healing. It's all about finding a medium you click with, just like finding your favorite restaurant that may not get the sandwich perfectly every time, but you know is a good spot at its core to eat the sandwich. I told them, let me know if it helps. I would love to mention your question in my podcast. So that was my answer to you, Andre. And I I think on the topic of bad psychics and scammers, it's a little clear cut. It's pretty straightforward. I think there are people that pretend to be psychics, right? And who really don't practice their ability. First of all, I believe we are all psychic. It's whether or not we all choose to practice the ability or be open to it. There are people who are not practicing a psychic ability proactively and are posing as psychics just to make money and to rip people off. And that happens very often, as many of you know. When I reached 1,000 followers on Instagram, all of a sudden my account started getting copied. It's as if like these people out there or these bots have this trigger like, oh, a psychic account, astrology psychic account, because on Instagram I have to be categorized as an astrologist and psychic, which is very misleading, but it's the only category that relates to what I do. I'm wondering if these bots or these people have a trigger like, here's a new account, or here's an account that is an astrologist psychic account that reached 1,000 followers. Let's start copying them and reaching out to their followers. And a lot of you who follow me on Instagram in the last 3 months have seen those messages come to your inbox, and I've had to post something to warn you to not look into to not buy anything from those people who are posing as me, or to follow them. So it's pretty easy to catch those kinds of folks who are really not practicing psychic ability, who are scamming people into believing that they are psychics. I mean, that's happened. That's a tale as old as time, right? People have been doing that forever, posing as psychics to get money out of people and to take advantage of people's desperate situations or life concerns. And then you have people who are actually practicing psychic ability, who, number one, may not be effective in the work they do, or number two, are taking advantage of people. That's a little more of a challenge. That's a little more challenging. That's a little harder to figure out, or to to discover, because I do believe there are people who are gifted, who have these abilities, or practicing these abilities rather, and have a business, and yet are not doing right by their clients and customers. So let's first talk about bad psychics. And I've talked about, in this podcast, we're going to go into a discussion about good psychics who scam people. And in a previous podcast episode on psychics having their followers, their devoted followers, I delve into this a little bit, but I'm going to go in a slightly different direction, because this question, I think, comes more. It's just an interesting question that Andre posed. It's something that I've definitely thought about before. But let's first talk about, what is a bad psychic? I really don't like putting those two words together. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. But when I say bad psychic, I want to be very clear that that has more to do with how the person is communicating to their sitter, and less about their actual ability. Because I believe, like I will always say, like a broken record, we all have psychic ability. It's how we use it, the intention we have, and how we communicate it to someone that needs to hear something. So I have had a reading or two with somebody, whether one on one or in a spirit circle where it's an open forum, a reading in which the person definitely can prove that they have this ability, yet the way they communicate is just not very effective. And in some instances, it's a little unkind, a little jarring. I, I'm going to give you an example, and just a little warning. This may come. This example is like a really drastic one, a little dramatic, but I've heard things like this before. I've heard a medium tell somebody. Actually, no, I won't use any actual past examples. I'll make one up, and you'll get the idea. So let's say I am in a reading with somebody, and the first thing I say is your mom dead? That's a horrible way to ask somebody that, I think. I think it's a little bit too forward. You just don't ask that way. You don't ask people that in real life. Well, real life. As if a session is out of the realm of real life. I mean, sometimes I guess it is, because you're not in the real human life. You're in the real spirit life, right? Channeling the spirit world. But anyways, I digress. I'm being extremely silly. In life outside of a session, we don't say, is your mom dead? Oh, your mom's dead. We don't say that. That's inappropriate. It's rude. Or saying something like, if I were in a session and I said something like, let's see, your mom is coming through, and she's annoyed with you. She's really annoyed with you. Like, she wants you to break up with this boyfriend, and she's just making me feel really annoyed. That's horrible. First of all, I don't think spirit can really get annoyed with us. They're totally happy on the other side. They don't need to get annoyed of anything. It's me that's feeling the annoyance. It's maybe the way I would interpret that, if I were to feel that during a session with that message, is that this person's mother is making me feel the mother's personality as they were in the physical world. And if they were in the physical world, mom would have felt annoyed with this boyfriend. But it's not right. What purpose does it serve the person I'm speaking to tell them your mom is annoyed with you? It doesn't serve any healthy purpose. What a horrible thing to tell somebody. Now, for those of you who believe that spirit can get annoyed and angry and judgmental, that's if you want to read that way, that's totally up to you. But for me, I feel that spirit shows me their personality as it would have been in the physical world. Not that I mean, for example, there's been a couple instances where spirit um will make me feel their hangups that they had in the physical world, or will make me feel like their let's say daughter thought that this one thing mom used to do was really annoying. So spirit will bring that up and say, "Oh, did your mom used to do this thing that would annoy you?" It's not that spirit is still being annoying. It's not that spirit still has this hang up. There this is the way that the sitter can know this is my mom. I know this is my mom because only my mom or someone close to my mom would mention this or know about this. So as a medium, for me to tell somebody your mom is annoyed with you, or to tell somebody something that I cross into dangerous territory and unhealthy territory if I in any way say something that conveys that spirit is placing judgment on the person I'm speaking to. Because what purpose does that serve them? If there's any judgment that I allow to come through, it's only absolute love for the person and affirmation, that kind of positive judgment. However, spirit doesn't judge, period. I really believe that. I believe God doesn't judge, spirit does not judge. And so when I say bad psychic, I'm talking about practice, not ability. The ability is there and it is strong, depending on how often the person practices or how the person uses their ability. Because you can strengthen or weaken your ability. You can. But we all have the ability. Being a bad psychic is more about how you communicate to your sitter, how you conduct a session, how you pace it. It's more about the logistics, I guess, so to speak. So that's what I mean when I say bad psychic. So that's one camp of things I'm going to talk about, that I'm talking about today. The other side of this is a good psychic who scams people. Now, a bad psychic may not be scamming people. They're just doing what they're doing. And maybe they're trying their best. Some people just need the time to develop their abilities, to practice them. And some people maybe can't find the time or don't find it. But I recommend, if you feel like you don't find the time to practice your psychic ability, or that there's nowhere that you want to learn how to develop it more, or no books to read, like there's absolutely nothing you want to do to help develop it or learn even more about how you can be a good psychic, take a break. Don't do this for a while. And I know I'm going to get some folks thinking, excuse me, you're going to tell psychic to stop working for a while. This is never ending learning. This involves never ending learning, being a psychic as a business and as a practitioner. And we need to do everything we can to, I mean, hey, look, in workplaces, people do trainings all the time to level up, to go on to the next level, even trainings over and over again, the same trainings to remind themselves of what works in the workplace. It's no different being a psychic. To think that as of today that I have finished all my learning, I have nothing else to read, nothing else to watch, no one else to meet, to learn from, would be totally, personally, I think it'd be very ignorant of me to think that. We all have space to learn, and a good psychic will crave learning and developing their skill, because this is a never ending developing skill. I just lost my train of thought. So that's the bad, quote unquote, bad psychic realm of things. Now, I have come across on Instagram, this is the other side of the discussion. I've come across on Instagram and some social media outlets folks I think are really talented and are obviously gifted. I know the word gifted is a little sensitive because we all have the ability, we're not gifted the ability. People who are gifted and talented on Instagram, on social media that I've seen, who that have a very deficit framing, you need me, uh there's bad energy out there and you need my help to save you from it kind of marketing and vibes. And that's not necessarily scamming because you're trying to sell a product and people are going to buy into it if they believe in you know that there's an evil curse on them and they need a spell to cast it. You get what you pay for, right? But I have noticed that there's some people out there who use their abilities to scare people into buying their product or having a reading with them, and I really 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 don't like that. I think it's just not cool. Not cool at all. I've shared many times this story about this psychic medium that I was watching on Instagram. I had a reading with her once, and the other readings I had with her, it was through Instagram Live. And it was a recurring group of us who would watch her lives, and we became a little community, so to speak. And after a while, I noticed two things. Well, number one, her politics just didn't align with mine, especially in terms of health and politics. In terms of like how politicized healthcare had become in the last 3 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic, she was telling people things about vaccines. That's like, listen, if you have an opinion about vaccines, that's fine. I don't like it, but that's fine. But don't tell other people not to do or to do something because you're not certified to do that. You're not qualified to do that. You're a psychic medium. You are not a doctor. You're not a scientist. So sit down, be quiet, and keep doing readings, okay? It gets me feisty, these memories, I have to say. And so that was really, really not okay with me. And then there was something about her that there was just a lot of um a lot of doomy kind of things would come up. And the way she would uh, I remember one time. Talk about grinding my gears. One time she would bring people on camera, right? And some people would feel embarrassed that their family and friends would be watching them talking to a psychic medium. They feel very not safe about it because they want to keep that part of their interests hidden, which I totally understand. Totally understand. So some people would log out, they would be watching the live, and she would try to bring them on. She said, "Oh wait, let me log into my second account." Like my dummy account. So they would log off and do that. And she would wonder where they were because she didn't understand that that's what they were doing, and then she would catch on to it and realize, oh, she was like, it's something like, yo, you guys, oh, you're so scared to come on your live. Like, who cares what people think? You're a chicken. Ba, 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 chicken. She literally did that. She went, ba, 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 chicken, chicken. Saying it out loud, I realized how freaking ridiculous it is. And then she would say, like, oh, chicken shit, like as a joke. But then there was one time I was not on a live, and I had went to watch the live recording that she had posted after the fact, and they were talking about me a little bit, and people in that community liked me. They did because listen, I'm a bundle of energy and joy. I have to say, I'm biased though. I'm the bundle of joy that's talking right now. Anyways, people liked me. They did. And there was one live that I didn't join, and I think I either hopped off or either I didn't join it or I hopped off. Whatever it was, I was watching it back, and people were talking about me. And one of them said one of the Instagram followers that I had talked to before through this woman's live, because she would do like two people at the same time, three people at the same time, like a group, said, "Oh yeah," like as a joke, like, "Oh yeah, like what Juan is chicken shit." And I'm like, excuse me? Just because I'm not on the live or I had to hop off or whatever, like, or like there was something or something about, I forgot if it was about something in particular I had talked about on the live that I was afraid of moving forward with something, or I was embarrassed, or I don't know what it was, but they were commenting on it like, oh yeah, Juan's chicken shit. And I'm like, I'm sorry, a psychic and or medium who encourages people. I mean, it's like when they say when a political leader is allowed to misbehave and has the cultural approval to misbehave, it gives other people permission to do the same or similar kind of behavior. And that's how I felt about this medium when I saw him. Like when I saw this, I'm like, wow, you're really not like shutting down that someone is saying this about me. And how could I expect more than that? Because That or more than that, because you do the same thing as a medium, as a psychic medium, and you are taking this spot of leader in this community. Because like I've shared before, when I decided to unfollow her after these instances, especially because of the vaccine health thing, I unfollowed her, and I was curious one day. This is my Gemini self. Ugh, always looking, always running from the trouble and saying, or always running away from trouble and saying I don't want drama in my life, and then also peeking through the blinds to see what's happening with the drama. That's me. I have to admit, I'm not perfect, y'all. I looked on her Instagram and saw this live, and I noticed that in a recording, this was after I had noticed that she was looking at my stories. She had never followed me, but she was looking at my stories, and I went to go look at her Instagram feed and saw her live, and she said that I've been Judased, I've been betrayed, and I'm like, oh Lord. I share this story because, and I have shared it in the past because of the experience. I want people to know that even a good, talented psychic medium like this woman is, because she's very talented. Even someone who's talented can either have the wrong marketing approach or could make it sometimes all about themselves. It's not uncommon. And sometimes I feel bad talking about this person because, I do believe in, to an extent, I believe in karma. And I don't want to just be someone who complains about somebody. But there is a reason that I bring this person up in my podcast episodes, because it was while I was in her community that I had my first mediumship experience that my first episode of this podcast is about. And I had told her about it on a live. I actually expected her to be a little bit more encouraging about it and celebratory. And I swear it's not my vanity or my self-centeredness talking. I wanted her as a professional to tell me, like, wow, this is really cool. Like, maybe you can do this too. Just practice it. But instead it was just like, be very careful, or um like as if, because the way it happened is that the soul of Ryan, the first soul that I feel like I've ever channeled, had stuck around after a tarot card reading. And it was incredible to me because I freaked out because I had never experienced this before, and I also felt really unworthy, to be honest. And I've said that before, but I really want to drive home how unworthy I felt. I was like, who am I to channel someone's loved one? This doesn't make any sense. This is for TV psychics. This is for the famous psychics. This is for special people. These are for people who are born this way, born to channel the deceased. And so when I told her about it on a live, the response that I got, and I credit her at least for just being responsive to it and addressing it. But the response was more like, just got to be careful, because if they stick around, they may be more like talking about spirit as a burden, that this soul could have become a burden if I wasn't careful. And I'm like, in my head, I didn't say this out loud, but I'm like, no, this was not a burden. It just was incredibly surprising and troubling in the most beautiful way. Troubling because I didn't feel worthy. Troubling because I was feeling things I had never felt before. And it was new and different. It was a change. It was exciting and it was scary at the same time. And the last thing I want to hear is, oh, that soul could have like haunted my ass. I don't want to hear that, because it's not true. I know it's not true. This soul of this man felt not it felt not I didn't feel anything but goodness from it. It was my reaction to it, because he made me feel a tinge of the pain he felt when he died. Just a tinge, and it was intense. It was uncomfortable, but I know that compared to how he actually passed, that what I felt was like a drop in the bucket. So I just felt so shocked and troubled because it was something different and new and scary. But it didn't feel, I know the soul was doing it because he wanted me to share a message with my friend Natalie Namaste, as you all know, like with Natalie. Not because he was trying to haunt me, or like, it was just like this. It was just the vibe that she gave off was, if you're not careful, they can stick to you. And I'm like, Well, I'm sorry, but this dude seems really cool. He can stick to me all he wants as long as he doesn't wake me up in the morning or appear in front of me out of nowhere. Because they're always around. Spirit is always around. Always around. And I respect her opinion. I understand where she was coming from. But anyways, the mixer, like the combination of all of these experiences, all these things that were frustrating me about this, about the way this person practiced their business and marketed themselves, just got to me. I got a little bit annoyed, to be honest. But I send them a lot of love. I wish them the best. Um, that's not easy to say because the way they responded to me and following them was very, very. They took it so personally and told everyone to that they shouldn't. They made everyone in that community feel like they shouldn't talk to me or to anybody, and because of that, I blocked everybody. Because I remember hearing, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this person because now I'm just complaining. This psychic is not a scammer by any means, but it just gives you an idea of like how a good psychic can misuse their business. She was one thing, but there are people who actually lie to their audiences and to their clients and scam them. I've yet to come across one myself as a client. I have yet to come across them myself on social media, but I have very good, trusted psychic medium friends who have told me they've come across these people themselves. And one medium friend of mine, she's been in the business for 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years, and she's seen it all. And so with this person that I keep bringing up in this episode, she's a good example of a psychic who has, I think she has the best of intentions, but after or to a certain point she was making about herself and having followers and having devotees. And I'm sorry, but listen, I love the fact that I reached 1,000 followers. I want to have 100,000 followers. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, like I've said before, if I didn't care about having followers, you wouldn't find me on social media, period. Why am I on Instagram? To have people look at me. Anyone who makes you think differently, like, oh no, I'm on Instagram to connect. Yes, I'm on Instagram to connect as well. But you know what I mean? Anyone who makes you think that they're on Instagram as a spiritual practitioner and that they don't care at all about marketing and social media, sorry, I call BS. Because if we really didn't care about marketing, follower counts, engagement, and social media, there would be no need for us to be on Instagram. We are on Instagram. Like, we could be easily running our businesses without social media. Very difficult, but we could be doing it if we truly don't care about having followers and more people to engage with our business. But I'm on social media because I want people to find my find my business, find my podcast, and also I want to spread the word about what I believe in and what I truly am passionate about. And I hope that in my content in these podcast episodes it really shows through that way. The reason I started this podcast was not because I was a psychic medium. I actually started this podcast because I had this mediumship experience and I felt like other people could relate to this or should know that they can do this too. And then later, I made a business for myself as a psychic medium and tarot card reader. So I hope that that comes through my podcast and my content, that it's my passion that drives all of this. The business is an important piece, but it's really my passion that drives all of this, including the business. And so, any psychic that makes you think that they don't care about followers and engagement, I'm sorry. If you're on Instagram, you're caring about followers and engagement. You're posting to get followers and to get likes and engagement and comments. Otherwise, you shouldn't be on social media because if you don't care about it all, then run your business without social media. Plain and simple. And some people will use social media. I know I'm being honest about it. I'm being honest about my use of social media and why I use it. Other people will use social media like I do, but they will. There was one person I remember who put up a video saying, "Guys, I'm freaking out. Please like my stuff. Please comment on my stuff." And I'm really concerned. And I'm here like, why would you post a video like that? The burden shouldn't be on your clients' shoulders and your followers' shoulders to bear this part of your business strategy. like and I don't know if they're a good psychic or a bad psychic, but that's an example of a psychic who just isn't going about it the right way from a business perspective on social media. And also from personally from an ethical standpoint. I'm not saying they're a bad person. There's a fine line between being ethical, being not ethical as a medium, as a psychic medium in business, and having grace and decorum when you speak and not having it. Because I think an important part of being a psychic medium is being a good communicator. And some people just are not great at it and need help refining that skill. And then there are other people who are really good communicators in the psychic world and use that to their advantage. And that's not okay either. I think I'm on a roller coaster right now. I'm so sorry. If you feel like you've been going up and down, side to side, over there, over here, slingshot over there, I'm really sorry. I really went off on this one in terms of ideas and tangents. So I'm just going to sum this all up with a nice little pretty bow. Being a bad psychic is more about your communication skills and how you conduct a session in your business. More about those things than it is about the ability. Because we all have the ability. It's how we use it that's important. And then good psychics who scam, or good psychics who make errors. There are good psychics out there, talented psychic mediums, who either take advantage of the situation that they have a following and an audience and clientele and use fear to bring people in to purchase their sessions and their offerings, or good psychic mediums who make it all about themselves, and therefore that shows through in a reading or in the way they conduct their business. And what's the solution for all of this? Well, honestly, buyer beware. As a client, and I am also a client because I book readings of psychics myself because I can't read for myself all the time. It's most of the times I can't. We have the best intuitive gut feeling about whether we click with someone as a psychic medium or a consultant, spiritual consultant, or not. So I have to leave it up to you to really know, can you see for yourself whether the psychic that you're following or that you're seeing really aligns with you or aligns with your values, isn't taking advantage of people, and yeah, that's all there is to it. It's such a simple solution, but I think a lot of us really just want to be told who's good, who's not good. And look, psychic word of mouth is a thing. Word of mouth is a thing in the psychic community. That's how a lot of people find psychics that they go to often. And word of mouth is good. However, I would say that if someone has 500 5-star reviews on Google and your friend has recommended them up and down, and you see the psychic and you just don't feel like you're not feeling it. You're just not feeling it. That's okay. Doesn't make you crazy. Doesn't mean they're a bad psychic, but it means they're not the psychic for you. But in the instance in which you know that they're a psychic that is misusing or conducting malpractice, if you feel that strongly, follow that gut feeling and just don't see them again, or make your decision as you like to with how you follow them or stay in touch with that psychic. You are the customer. You are the client, and you have every right as a client to say no. To say no. And any psychic that makes anyone feel like that they're in some way indebted to them because they're the wise one and they're the one that can save you. Mm-mm. No. Nope, 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 nope. Not okay. Not okay. You don't owe a psychic anything other than your attention and your respect during a reading. Nothing else. And so don't play into anybody's tactic of making you feel like they're the one to save you. They're the one that has all the answers. And people who talk that way in the psychic realm, they could either be actual real psychics in practice or not. They could be actually talented psychics or not. It's up to each of us to really feel out who is, in our view, legitimate as a consultant, as a spiritual consultant. So that's my spiel, my almost 35-40 minute spiel on this topic. Thank you to Andre for asking your question, because I've been thinking about this topic for months and months to share about on this podcast. And your question actually was the catalyst for me doing it, for me recording it today. So thank you. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, listener. If you have any thoughts, feel free to DM me, email me, and I would love to hear what you think about all this. So with that, I'll leave you to the rest of your day and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.